Hello guys, this is the seventh video of Data Science playlist. Today's topic is neural networks. Neural networks are a class of machine learning models inspired by structure and functioning of human brain. They are particularly effective in the solving complex problems that are difficult for traditional algorithms such as image recognition, natural language processing, and time series prediction. In data science, neural networks are widely used for tasks such as classification, regression, clustering, etc. Basic structure of neural network. A neural network consists of layer nodes, also called neurons, where each node is connected to other nodes adjacent layer via weighted connections. The main components are input layer, hidden layer, output layer, activation functions, and weights. First is input layer. The first layer that receives the input data. Each node representing one feature of the data. Hidden layers. One or more layers of neurons that performs computation on the inputs. These layers extract features and presented increasingly abstract patterns. Output layer. The final layer that produces the prediction or classification for classification tasks is typically softmax layer that outputs the probabilities for each class. Activation functions. Functions like sigmoid 10 applied to the weighted sum of inputs in some each neuron, introducing a nonlinearity or enabling the learn function complex relationships. Weights and biases. Parameters learned by the model during the training, the weights control strength connection between the nodes and the bias helps the function activation. How neural network works. Feed-forward process. The input data is passed through a network layer by layer. Each node computes a weighted sum of its inputs, applies an activation function, and passes the result to next layer. Backpropagation. During the training, the network compares its prediction to the actual labels, ground truth using loss function. The model adjusts the weight through the backpropagation, a process that computes the gradient of loss function respect to each weight updates weights in the direction that reduce the area. Third is optimization. Optimization algorithm is used to update the weights iteratively by minimizing the loss function. Types of neural network. Feed-forward neural network. The simplest type where the information flows in one direction, the input and the output layer without the feedback loop. Used for classification and regression talks. Second is convolution neural error. Specialized for image and visualization data, they use conventional layers to automatically detect features such as edges, textures, and patterns. Commonly used in image classification, object detection, and computer vision talks. Recurrent neural networks. Designed for sequential data where output depends not on just current input but also on previous inputs. Often used for time series prediction, natural language processing, and speech recognition. Fourth is long short-term memory and graded recurrent unit. Variants of RNNs designed to address vanishing gradient problem and capture long-term dependencies in sequence, commonly used for tasks like machine translation and sentiment analysis. Fifth is generative adversarial networks. Consist of two networks, a generator that creates data, discriminator it evaluates it. They train adversarially, meaning the generator learns to create realistic data while discriminator learns to distinguish real from fake data. Used in image generation, style transfer, and data augmentation. Key concept of neural networks. First is activation function. Activation functions meet rectified linear unit. Most common activation functions help to avoid vanishing gradients. Second is sigmoid. Sigmoid outputs value between 0 to 1, typically used for binary classification. Third is softmax. Softmax is used in output layer for multi-classification, converts logistics into probabilities. Second is loss function. Loss function means mean square error and cross entropy loss. Mean square error used for regression tasks minimize the difference between the predicted and actual values. Second is cross entropy loss used for classification task measures the difference between predicted probabilities and actual labels. So now we'll move toward the next PPT, which is fundamentals of neural networks. Artificial neurons. Artificial neurons are mathematically functions that receive inputs, lighted sum, and apply function to produce. Second is layers. Neural networks are organized into layers where each layer consists of multiple neurons, interconnected neurons in adjacent layer. Third is connections and weights. Connections and neurons have associated weight which determine the strength of influence of one neuron to another. Next is activation functions and layer type. Activation function means activation function introduce the non-linearity into network, enable it to learn complex pattern. Common activation function include sigmoid, RL, ReLU, and 10H. Layer types. Different layer types such as fully connected layers, co-evolution layers, recurrent layers serve specific purposes in processing different types of data. Now we will move toward the feed-forward neural networks. First is input layer, which receive the raw data as an input. Second is hidden layer, which perform computations and extract features from input data. Third is output layer. Output layer produces the final output of the network based on the processed information. Next is backpropagation and optimization. First is forward pass. Data flows through the network from the input to output layer. Second is backpropagation. Backpropagation error is a propagated backward through the network, adjusting the weight to minimize the difference between the predicted and actual outputs. Third is optimization. Optimization algorithm like gradient descent are used to find the best sets of weight that minimize the error. Now, co-evaluation neural networks means CNS. As we discussed before, CNS applies filter to the input data, extracting the features such as edges, sharpness, and textures. Pooling layers. Pooling layers mean downsample the feature maps, reducing the dimensionality and making the network more robust and variations in input data. Applications. CNS are widely used for image classification, object detection, and image segmentation tasks. Now we'll move toward the RNNs, recurrented neural networks. Recurrented neural networks means process sequential data like speech, use internal memory to store information from past inputs. Application includes like natural language processing, machine translation, and speech recognition. And CNS means process spatial data like images, videos, etc. Use co-evaluation filters like extract local features, application image classification, object detection, and image segmentation. Now, applying neural networks in R and Python. R is a very powerful statistic programming language with libraries like Keras and TensorFlow that provide frameworks for building neural networks. Now, Python. Python is a popular programming language known for its extensive library like Keras, TensorFlow, and PyTorch, making it deal for neural network development. So the conclusion of this video is neural networks are powerful tool for solving complex problems in various domains. They offer flexibility, adaptability, and ability to learn from data. Understanding the fundamental concepts and applying them in program language like R and Python opens up exciting possibilities for leveraging the power of neural networks. So this is all for today's video. If you like the video, hit the like button, comment down below and share this video and subscribe the channel. This is all for today. Thank you for watching.